I don't want to spend Christmas with that loser. I froze as I tried to open the garden window while putting up the Christmas decorations. I clearly heard the voice of my sister, Odessa. Mom should make her pay for the renovation and then cut her off. It's embarrassing to call her family. Our mother, Martha, responded, "We're already working on it. And all our inheritance will go to you." My heart was pounding as I finished putting up the lights. They laughed about how oblivious I was, saying things like I'm pretending to be a little contractor, and she'll never find a husband. She'll just die alone and lonely. Mom would hide her phone screen when I entered the room, whisper on the phone, and exchange glances with Odessa that twisted my stomach. After being a daughter for 34 years, you develop a sixth sense for these things. Thinking about it, I had dedicated 34 years to my family. Simply because I was single and financially free. I funded the family trips, I paid for Mom's luxuries, and the renovation costs for the house. Everything suddenly looked warped and ugly under the lights I had lovingly hung. Today, too, I spent the morning hanging lights, arranging decorations, and preparing a feast. Everything had to be perfect for me to earn my family's approval. I marinated the prime rib for 3 days and baked cookies from scratch. But the small hope that maybe, just maybe, they would accept me this year was shattered instantly. Something then hardened inside me like concrete. That moment, I decided to reclaim the time, assets, and self that my family had taken from me. But I didn't scream or confront them. I quietly stepped back, grabbed the cranberry sauce, took 3 deep breaths, and fixed the most convincing smile of my life on my face. The week before the Christmas gathering, something felt off about my mother. Not her usual irritation when I brought sawdust onto her pristine floors. This was different. She had been particularly tense lately, criticizing my every move, but I brushed it off as holiday stress. Everyone was home that day for the Christmas party. My father, my sister Odessa, and her husband Bruce. My father immediately complimented the renovations, and Bruce began asking sharp questions about my business finances in that arrogant lawyer tone that always knotted my stomach. After college, I built a construction company. I started with only tools and determination, and now I manage 5 crews. It's not flashy, but it pays well. Mom never approved of my unfeminine career choice. My dad, Ryan, an economics professor, never failed to offer condescending advice about my business. Odessa, with her lawyer husband, seemed to think she earned his status by association. They always believed I should do better. Their constant sarcasm about my cute little company and endless questions about when I'd find a real career never stopped. The Christmas party was then ready, right on time. But the conversation I overheard between my mother and sister lingered in my mind, turning dinner into an out-of-body experience. I filled wine glasses, served prime ribs, laughed at my father's boring academic jokes, and watched my mother, this elegant stranger, speak to me as if she hadn't broken my heart. Had that cold calculation always been behind her smile? Dinner ended and night fell. Mom began cleaning and softly humming Christmas carols, as if she hadn't just shattered my world. I insisted she relax and finish the cleanup myself. She tapped my cheek gently and said, "What a good daughter you are." That hypocrisy burned in my throat like acid. After she went to bed, I checked her laptop. Password protection was unusual for her. But I knew her patterns. I got in on the 3rd try. I found her emails with Odessa's husband, Bruce, dated back over a year. The plan was clear. They were waiting until the extensive renovations were done, after which they would finalize the inheritance transfer to Odessa, and then push me out. The spreadsheet detailed my assets, renovation costs, and even a timeline for removing me. There were also transfer records showing that Mom had been siphoning off the family trip funds I provided into a secret account for years. There were amounts small enough not to raise any suspicion. $20,000 I had contributed for family vacations were gone, just like that. Then, I found messages with someone saved as V. Following the trail, I discovered he was Brant. Apparently, he wasn't just a friend of hers. Reading through the messages, it became clear he was her secret partner. The messages spanned years. Years of deceit. And the money appeared to be used in support of their relationship. Knowing this, I couldn't sleep that night. The next day, I took off work and met with a lawyer while the family was out. I shared everything and showed the evidence I had gathered. Legally, even though I had funded the entire renovation, the original deed was still in their names. That alone wasn't enough as evidence. Everything I had built, every sacrifice I had made was about to be handed over to them. So I'm supposed to just let them take it? I asked numbly. The lawyer mentioned mediation and family reconciliation, but mentally I was already rebuilding my defenses. Something fundamental had shifted inside me. Looking back, my family had always underestimated me. They saw my work boots and lack of higher education and assumed I was simple. They never understood that building something from nothing requires intelligence, strategy, and steel-hard resolve. The next morning, I made my decision. As soon as everyone left, I took action. I installed small recording devices in the living room and kitchen. I crossed ethical boundaries I never thought I would need with family. I also set up a camera in Mom's room. Once everything was in place, I quietly baked cookies as if nothing had changed. I chatted with neighbors about holiday plans while collecting decorative pine cones, all the while thinking about the betrayal unfolding inside my home. At dinner that night, Mom seemed unusually distracted, constantly checking her phone. When I asked about her day, she gave vague answers. Her phone buzzed again, and I glimpsed a name. "Who's Brant?" I asked innocently, handing her the potatoes. Her hand froze for a second. "Oh, just a financial planning client. Year-end tax questions." Then she flipped her phone face down. That tiny hesitation said a lot. After spending 30 years with someone, you recognize their tells. "Must be urgent, messaging during family dinner," I said, maintaining my cheerful smile. She gave a nervous smile. "Some people just don't understand professional boundaries." The hypocrisy nearly choked me. After dinner, she said she had some work to do and disappeared into the study. I banged around cleaning loudly to make her believe I was busy, then moved quietly to the hallway near the slightly open door. Her voice drifted out soft, intimate, not her professional tone, not the voice of a mother. It was something I had never heard before. "I can't just call you whenever I want, yes. Just a little longer, yes. I miss you terribly too." Each whispered word drove another nail into the coffin of family trust. Everything I had provided was being funneled into my mother's affair. The rage I had been holding back threatened to burst. I wanted to storm in, confront her, and end the charade right then and there. but that would have ruined the plan I had carefully built. So I quietly withdrew. I returned to the kitchen. I turned on the mixer, pretending to make more cookie dough while refining my strategy. Over the next few weeks, I continued my investigation and discovered that Brant and my mother had maintained a special relationship for years. The plan became clear. This wasn't just an affair. It was a calculated decade-long deception. While compiling the evidence, I also created a comprehensive spreadsheet documenting every dollar I had invested in the family home. Renovation materials, contractor payments, design fees, custom furniture I built myself, and the landscaping she demanded for the perfect yard to host gatherings. Grand total, $57,450. That night, my mother asked me to help plan Odessa's birthday party next month. I played along, offering suggestions as expected, feeling nothing but hollow detachment while she pretended to value my opinion. Later that night, after everyone had gone to bed, I sat alone in my workshop, watching the sawdust drift in the air, questioning everything. How long had our family been a facade? Was I ever really a daughter, or just their convenient ATM? Was I simply a temporary resource? On Thursday afternoon, the first pieces of evidence from the recording devices began to come in. Odessa had dropped by unannounced and was talking quietly with my mother in the living room. When I got home from work, the recording had captured them talking about me. "Bruce finalized the paperwork," Odessa said. "Now that the renovations are done, the legal grounds for cutting her out are solid." Mom lowered her voice. "Is this really necessary? She's my daughter." "But you said it yourself," Odessa replied. "You can't stand spending Christmas with that loser. Make her pay for the renovation, then cut her loose." "A woman in construction? It's just too embarrassing." Mom sighed deeply. "You're right, we're already working on it. And I'm planning to leave all of the inheritance to you." "And the plan with Brant?" "He's waiting. Ryan doesn't suspect a thing. Once the asset transfer is complete." "What will you tell Dad?" "He won't care. He's been ignoring me for years. We're just two people sharing a house. I'm starting a new life with Brant. I can't wait any longer." Odessa laughed. "So Ellen gets nothing?" "Nothing. Let her find her own way with her cute little company." My hands were trembling as I listened to the recording. The first conversation I overheard had been by chance, but now the full scope of their plan was clear. I had to protect everything I had built. That night, I initiated my final strategy. I drafted an urgent family financial discussion to be held on the day of Odessa's birthday party, under the guise of making critical decisions about the estate. It went exactly as planned. On the morning of the party, I completed the setup. I prepared the dining room, placing hidden documents near my seat. All the evidence recordings, financial logs, property papers was uploaded to a tablet. My mother had already set the table with the finest china. She looked uneasy, constantly checking her phone. I rehearsed the presentation, the exact order of evidence, and the timing of each revelation for maximum clarity. Strangely, it felt like preparing for the biggest project bid of my career. I wore my most authoritative outfit, a tailored blazer, crisp white shirt, and polished boots instead of my work sneakers. a uniform for the final appearance of their obedient daughter. From the stairs, I could hear my mother speaking quietly on the phone. Thanks to the recorder in the living room, I could review the conversation later if needed. But I already knew her co-conspirator and their plan. Let her enjoy these imagined final moments of control. Let her reassure Brant that everything was going as planned. Let her believe these last hours were proof of her perfect execution. The doorbell rang. Mom jumped and hastily ended her call. Dad arrived first, home from work, predictably carrying an expensive bottle of wine. Odessa and Bruce arrived shortly after. All participants were present, each unknowingly playing their part in my carefully orchestrated reveal. As we moved toward the dining area, Mom's phone lit up in her pocket. Before she could silence it, Brant's name flashed across the screen. I sat at the head of the table and placed the folder of evidence beside my plate. Mom sat to my right, Dad to my left. I controlled the story. As Dad debated wine selections, I stood and raised my glass. The conversation ceased instantly. I smiled deliberately at each family member, leaving Mom for last. Before we celebrate Christmas tonight, I said, raising my glass higher, I'd like to toast to family, loyalty, and finally acknowledging the truth beneath our beautiful renovation. The confusion that crossed their faces was merely the overture. They had no idea what was coming. And neither did Mom. I calmly took a sip of Dad's expensive wine. Now, I continued, pulling out the tablet. I've discovered a serious issue that threatens everything I've built. A problem festering just beneath the foundation of our family. Dad leaned in with barely concealed condescension. Budget constraints? Cash flow problems? I've always said your construction business lacked proper academic planning. Actually, I replied, connecting the tablet to the large screen, the problem isn't my business. It's our family? The room fell utterly silent. Mom's hand froze on mine. Ellen, she whispered, tense. What are you doing? That's when I played the recording of her and Odessa. Their voices echoed through the beautifully renovated dining room. Odessa saying I needed to be cut off after paying for the renovation, calling my construction career embarrassing. Mom confirming they'd already begun the process, and Bruce saying they could even take the house. I paused the playback there. I watched each reaction closely. Odessa turned pale. Dad's expression crumpled in confusion. Bruce sat up, defensive. And Mom remained frozen, watching her carefully constructed deceit collapse like a poorly engineered structure. Next, I displayed screenshots of her messages with Brant redacted for dignity, but undeniably damning. I withheld his name deliberately. For 10 years, I said with quiet strength. 10 years of deception while I worked 70-hour weeks renovating our family home. I turned to my father. Did you know Mom was having an affair? Did you know about the plan to kick me out after the renovations were finished? Dad was stunned. I showed the comprehensive spreadsheet. Every dollar I invested in the family home, $57,450. This is what I contributed to our family while building my business from scratch, I said firmly. Next slide. Documents of misappropriated family vacation funds and plans to exclude me from the inheritance. And this, I said, was the reward for my devotion. The silence felt physically heavy. Then my father suddenly stood up, knocking his chair backward. "This is atrocious. Martha, what is the meaning of this?" Immediately, my mother grabbed my wrist. "Ellen, you're misunderstanding everything." And Bruce, ever the calculating lawyer, began trying to delete files from his phone under the table. I pointed directly at him. "The documents you're deleting are already backed up. Every hour you spent advising them on how to remove me." Bruce froze and looked at Odessa. My mother shifted tactics. "It wasn't what you think," she pleaded, strategically allowing tears to surface. "This is a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding?" I repeated, incredulous. "While I was earning money to renovate your dream kitchen? While I was working for your entertainment?" I had no intention of losing my composure, but something inside me cracked. "For 34 years, I said, my voice lowering. "For 34 years I believed in this family, but I was just your convenient ATM." Then I displayed another piece of evidence messages between Mother and Brant titled "New Life Plan After Renovation." The notes included, "Best time to tell R. Ryan and after securing funds from E. Ellen. Your partner is Brant. Dad's business associate, right?" The room went completely still. "After the renovation, you plan to start a new life with Brant. Abandon Dad. Cut me out of the inheritance. Give everything to Odessa." Mother's face turned dramatically pale. "You investigated him?" "Yes. And I had coffee with his wife. I thought she deserved to know about your ongoing relationship." "My friend Brant? A friend for 30 years? My best friend from college?" Father's voice was ice. Mother sat speechless. "How long has this been going on?" "Answer me." Father shouted, then smashed the remaining glass on the table to the floor. "How long have you been betraying me with Brant?" "Ryan, please." He pointed around the room. "All of this renovation, was it for him? You took money from Ellen to live with him? You robbed her inheritance? Took my house?" His face was red with rage, fists clenched so tightly his knuckles turned white. 34 years of marriage, and this is how you repay me." He spoke quieter, but more dangerously. "My friend? My colleague? While you were planning this, I was working alongside him." Mother was crying. "You never paid attention to me, your research, your career. And how does that justify this?" Father's voice shook. "How does any of this become justifiable? You betrayed the entire family. You betrayed me. And worst of all, you betrayed your own daughter." That was when he exploded. He grabbed the edge of my custom dining table and flipped it violently. Food, wine, crystal all crashed to the floor. Mother screamed. Odessa gasped. Bruce jumped back. I sat still, strangely calm, watching decades of family illusions shattered around us. Mother kept repeating desperately, "Ellen, please, we need to talk about this privately." This wasn't how it was supposed to happen. How exactly were you planning to steal my assets? Continue your affair with Dad's former partner while claiming everything I built? I shook my head firmly. There's nothing left to discuss. I walked to the front door and flung it open. This party is over. Leave? Now. My father walked out on his own, and I escorted my sister and brother-in-law outside. Then it was just my mother and me left in the ruins of our family dinner. "Where will you go?" she asked in a strangely small voice. "I've already secured accommodations," I replied. "I'll return tomorrow to collect my equipment." "You orchestrated this whole reveal," she whispered with disbelief. "I learned strategic planning by watching you," I said, gathering my overnight bag. As I stepped outside, she called out desperately, "You'll regret this." I did not acknowledge her. That night, in a hotel suite, I slept peacefully for the first time in days. The next day, while everyone was out, I returned to the house and gathered what mattered: tools, equipment, business files, personal photos, and left a spare key on the workbench I had built. I had already rented a beautiful condo near my office. I wasn't hiding, just setting boundaries. For 2 weeks, I avoided social media, ignored non-essential communication, and focused on setting up the new space. My work quickly became a source of comfort. Construction had always been my true home. When I finally checked my messages, they had poured in 14 increasingly desperate texts from my mother, ranging from pure rage to pleading. At first, she expressed nothing but fury. "How could you humiliate me in front of everyone? And you destroyed this family." Gradually, her tone shifted toward apology. "Ellen, please answer. We need to talk. And I know mistakes were made, but families work through things." Then, the final message. "Brant just called to end it. He's trying to reconcile with his wife. I have no one left." I read the messages without emotion, feeling only fatigue. Not victory. Not justification. Just emptiness. Like finishing a massive renovation, only to have the client complain about the paint color. I finally replied, "I've already filed for a restraining order. All I want is complete separation from this family." Her response was instant: "No contact? Please. Just one conversation." I sent my mother a final message: "There's nothing left to discuss. Our relationship is over. All future communication must go through my attorney." Then I blocked her number. At the end of that week, a message came from Odessa. "Ellen, I'm truly sorry. Mom may have led it, but I'm just as guilty. I can't take back what I said that night. But we're still family, aren't we? Please, let's talk. Bruce says he can support your business. If you need legal advice." I immediately forwarded her message to my attorney. The next day, filings were submitted for restraining orders against both my sister and Bruce. After that night, my father contacted a lawyer. He conducted his own investigation and discovered that the affair between Martha and Brant had indeed existed. He was devastated by the depth of the betrayal and the fact that she had planned to leave him. He wanted to discuss revising his will and the distribution of his estate. "He's considering transferring the entire inheritance to you," the lawyer said. "He plans to cut Odessa out completely." "That's not necessary," I replied. "No, he insists on it," the lawyer continued. "He believes it's fair." After learning the extent of Martha and Brant's plan and just how involved Odessa truly was, he's convinced this is the only just course of action. After I ended the call with the lawyer, I found a message from my father. Please forgive my ignorance. For too long, I turned a blind eye. Now I will make it right. Everything I own will go to you. You are the only one who has shown true integrity. With reconciliation and a shared understanding of the deception we had both endured, I agreed to meet my father for lunch. 3 months passed. My new home was ideal. From the balcony of the spacious condo, I could see the lake, and in a corner of the living room, I stayed up late drafting blueprints in my workspace. There were moments of loneliness, but it was far healthier than the false relationships I had left behind. My father and I began meeting once a month. He too was seeking a new life. He had retired, moved to a small town, and started teaching part-time at a local college. Our relationship was being rebuilt carefully, but steadily. We avoided talking about the family. Instead, we spoke of the future. One evening, I began taking measurements for a new design project. Sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating my workspace. If someone asked what I was measuring, I would have said this. Not just the dimensions of the room, but the possibilities of a new life.